Hello, people. It's your boss man back again with another tactical show with your host, Osman Akhtar. As always, I'm joined by my co-host today, who's just not got his beautiful face on the screen. Before we get that lovely smile on the screen, as always, stay tuned. We have got a lot to cover. The following topics for today's show are, first and foremost, the Palace review. We will be giving our thoughts on the game itself. Of course, delving in deep into the 4-2-2 formation and trying to explain our thoughts regarding the successes that it had and potentially some things that we think that need to change. We will be analysing some of the individual performances, the likes of Rashford, the likes of Bruno. Of course, maybe they might stray on the negative side. We will also be focusing on some of the positive. If there's anyone that you want us to discuss in the chat, please put it in the comment section. And after that, we'll be going to attacking fullbacks conversation. I'm sure most of you are probably having that conversation amongst friends. We will be giving you our thoughts. We have got a fair few graphics to be sharing and a bit of statistics as well to be sharing alongside the show, as we always do. Of course, this is a tactical podcast. On the Thursday, we've got the normal podcast. Potentially might bring some of the tactics in that as well, but this is where we are going to focus on that. If there's something you enjoyed, please slap a like on the video, and of course, subscribe to the channel for more content. I believe we're just over 50 subscribers away from 1.3k, so I'd really appreciate it. Tell your nan, tell your granddad, whoever it may be, help us get to 1.3k before the end of the year. Bit ambitious, but I'm sure we can do it. But listen, let's get into your comments. Some of you already getting there nice and early. Good to see. Brush is always in the building with a popcorn emoji. That guy knows it's going to be a banging show. And listen, if this is the first time you're watching this kind of content, I can assure you there's a lot of information that we will be relaying. Obviously, this is the pinned tweet as always. Shout out to Kwesi. Big up, guys. Big up to you, my brother. Thank you for coming through. Bart is back in the building trolling as always. Thank you for coming through, Bart. I won't be watching that game, no. Hopefully that answers the question. And the United way is in, as always, saying yes, boys. But listen, we're going to get into it. Only one place to start, which of course is our 1-0 victory over Crystal Palace. Of course, this was Rangnick's first game in charge as Manchester United manager, as he took over from Michael Carrick, who of course has parted ways with the club. Before I get my thoughts, we are going to try and get Kojo's thoughts. I don't know where he is. Hopefully he's
bro,
here.
No, I'm here, but my nose is playing up, so I'm not coming on camera right now. When I'm good, I'll come out. That
is fine. Right, we can still get your thoughts. We don't need to see your beautiful face to get your thoughts. Although it is obviously always a pleasure. But listen, Kojo, first and foremost, welcome to the show. As always, we co-host the show together. How are you doing, firstly? And secondly, what did you make of the Palace victory?
Yeah, I'm all right. Everything's good over here. Hope you're good as well, bro.
Yes.
Good. The Palace game, no, it's good. Much more progressive, a lot more pressing, a lot more attacking intent. Players were in a lot more progressive areas, including the centre backs. So you saw Lindelof a lot more forward. Maguire, Tellez was in the middle taking shots. Set pieces were a lot more threatening. So yeah, man, it's 1-0, but it felt like a very dominant 1-0, which is good. So it's a good start under Rangnick. So yeah, more to come hopefully.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely agree. I definitely felt it was a very dominating 1-0. I mean, there was the large parts of that game that, for me, showed a huge progression of where we have been in previous 10 years, not just under Oli, but previous managers as well. Of course, we understand it's very early to say. We understand that there's no, some fans have got overexcited. Some fans are overreacted, but each to their own. I understand the excitement. I understand the reactions from a lot of United fans who are just happy to see something different, which we haven't seen under the previous managers. So for me, that is definitely a massive positive. Moving forward, of course, we will be, delving into the sort of comparisons of, how he's fared with the previous manager in charge, as well as talking about the different sort of facets of the game, i.e. the pressing, as Kojo just mentioned there, the high press, so to speak. And of course, the first 30 minutes. For me, the first 30 minutes was absolutely phenomenal. Kojo, mute your mic because I can hear the play basically. So I'm just picking up on the audio.
Yo, sorry, that wasn't me, but we move.
So look, I was kind of want to focus on the first 30 minutes. Of course, Rangnick has spoken post-match, and he kind of spoke very glowingly of the overall performance. For me personally, the first 30 minutes is some of the best 30 minutes football I've seen in a long time at Manchester United Football Club. I know when Ollie first came in, we were scintillating as well in the first few games. I don't want to say ever, but the sort of manner in which we set up and the way we pressed from the front was very refreshing to see. I wasn't expecting such a huge improvement in such a short period of time. Rangnick himself actually referenced this as well. He kind of said in his post-match that he was somewhat pleasantly surprised with the quality of the pressing and the ability for the players to take on instructions so quickly with only one training session. So that was something that was a huge positive. I mean, one of the major criticisms with the players at the moment is the fact that many people kind of discredit their ability to follow instructions. I mean, for me, the first 30 minutes have shown that they're more than capable of following instructions. Kojo, what did you make of that first 30 minutes from the boys in particular?
So in terms of the first 30 minutes, the way we pressed was so the difference in what we were seeing for the last 2.5 years to the first 30 minutes was very, very clear. You can see that he implemented his style of football within 1 or 2 days of training max. The intent to just knock the ball forward, the intent to get your players high up the pitch so they can be at the halfway line. Your fullbacks were going forward, and like I said, and you said as well, Tellez and Dallo will be key to that because they are a lot more progressive and talented on the ball than the other two. So that was very impressive for me. The first 30 minutes as well, I think the most key thing about the pressing was the pressing made sense all the time. When you went in packs, it wasn't just like 5 men running after the ball and then ball being played over or through them and it's done. It was Sancho going and then when the ball's played one side, Rashford is going. Like we said last week, your wingers now become less so like number 10s. They press first. It's not always the striker. So Ronaldo is not going to be an issue when it comes to pressing, even though he's one of United's higher pressures, I think. So, look, first 30 minutes was fantastic. And I have not said that in about 2.5 years about Man United, about anything. So it was fantastic. There was so much intent to cause damage. And Crystal Palace have played well this season. Vieira's done a very good job. And we made them feel very, very uncomfortable against us. So the first 30 minutes was fantastic.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think the important thing is, and one thing we haven't seen at Old Trafford for a long period of time is us imposing ourselves on the opposition. At the end of the day, we're the bigger club. We have the better players at our disposal. And for whatever reason, under Ollie's tenure, we tend to somewhat back off the opposition, allow them to settle in an away game, which for me really didn't sit well with me. At Old Trafford, we should be setting the precedent. We should be imposing ourselves on the opposition, and the opposing team traveling to Old Trafford should be scared to be coming. They should, have a sense that they're in for a game. Nothing for them is granted, as it's always been at Old Trafford prior to Sir Alex Ferguson's retirement. People would always feel like coming to Old Trafford is going to be a difficult game, and there has been moments under other managers post Fergie that has been the case. But in general, for me personally, that is one of the biggest things I took from that 30 minutes. Other teams looking at that 30 minutes know they're going to be in for a game. They know they can't just turn up at Old Trafford and take the slippers off, get comfy, get accustomed to the atmosphere and play themselves into the game from the get-go. They're going to be in a fight. They're going to be in a fight for every single ball. And that was the most beautiful thing I saw. And that is something that we need to bring back. That fear factor needs to be at Old Trafford again. And that is something that has definitely been lost, not under Ollie, but under Ollie alongside the other managers post Fergie. And that is something that in the 30 minutes, of course, with a bit of consistency and obviously that happening more frequently, that will definitely start to filter into the opposition team. Roy Keane said that famous saying, I think it was Roy Keane anyways, but they already Rio Ferdinand, I keep always getting confused, but Rio Ferdinand, we've won half the games in the tunnel. It's a mental battle. The opposition look at your players and think, oh, we're in for a game here. And we haven't had that because people have come to Old Trafford and rolled us over. Even in this season, I believe that was our first clean sheet in 16 games at home. I mean, for Manchester United standards, that's absolutely unacceptable. So for me, what I took away from the 30 minutes the most was the fact that we started in the front four. The opposition knew straight away that they're not going to get any time on the ball. There's no respite for them. If they're not on job, we're going to hurt you. And I thought minus the goals, it was a perfect 30 minutes. But we're gonna just obviously further emphasize the sort of difference that 30 minutes made, or was, should I say. So I'm just going to get a couple of graphics on. So regarding the way the show is going to work, we're going to drip feed you some stats, some graphics, some things that we've got. Of course, some of the stuff is from other people's sort of platforms. So, of course, we will be shouting them out as well. As always, get your questions in, any qualms that you may have. Please get them in the chat below. So, yeah, the first one that I want to share here, it was actually from Sky Sports. So hopefully they don't violate us. But I mean, I did technically take the picture myself, but it's not our picture. So this was kind of when Sky Sports were analysing the Manchester United improvement. So, Kojo, I'm going to pass it to you first. Quite clearly, you can see on the left here where my cursor is the rest of the season. So, of course, that is alluding to prior to Rangnick and then Palace. Again, this is a very minimal sample size. I understand it's one game. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. You know, in the next game, these stats could be very much the same. So we've got to bear that in mind as well. But Kojo, I mean, you could go through them if you want. So I'll allow you to go through them. Obviously, I'm assuming you can see. But yeah, over to yourself. What have you made from this sort of comparison?
What stands out the most is firstly shots faced, which means despite us being so worried about our defenders, which I mean we had fair reason to be so, the way we play and the way we control the game means we face less, and also the way we defended with our pressing in our areas or in our half rather as well was also very impressive. So that's number one. Number two is the amount of tackles won and duels won as well. So that's not just first ball, that's second ball. Now we win a lot of second balls as well, which is very, very important. The possession won in the final third. I think United fans will be speaking about that all, well, since the end of the game, because the stats going around showing what we were doing under previous management just tells you that we were not good. But what I would say is this: the distance and the sprints, right? It's lower, but it's so key because, like we were saying earlier, it's how you press. It's not just about going forward and just pressing to press. It's how you press, when you press, and the correct trigger time to do it. And that for me is so key. So we're conserving energy, but we're also creating havoc within their half. They can't get out of their half, and when they do, we're prepared for that counter attack. So we don't need to cover so much distance, and that's, to me, that's so important. You don't need to be the team that's always highest on distance and highest on sprints. You need to be the team that's the smartest when it comes to these kind of things, and that's what Rangnick's obviously clearly
smart and not harder, isn't
it? Precisely. So yeah, that for me is brilliant. That for me is absolutely brilliant. It's great to see that he's done that within one game. That needs to continue. Yeah,
no, I just to echo that sentiment. I think the misconception with pressing is that, you know, you have to run around like headless chickens, or, you know, this consistency in terms of sprinting. That is not sustainable for 90 minutes. Of course, there is going to be a burnout period, and our players will have to increase the fitness. We understand that. But I completely agree with you in the sense that it's about having IQ. It's about pressing with intent. It's about pressing with intelligence. And this is why this notion that Cristiano Ronaldo cannot press is something that I've never agreed with from day one. He's shown against Crystal Palace he's more than capable of playing in a Rangnick system. For me, he's dispelled that myth already. Of course, we need to see it consistently for him to really have dispelled that so-called myth. But he's already shown in the first game that he's more than capable of putting in shift and putting in the hard yards. I thought it was absolutely brilliant from him on a personal level. But in terms of the overall team, if you were looking at the stats and you looked at the game, you wouldn't assume that they go hand in hand, because not only have we covered less distance, but on the pitch, you wouldn't have felt like we covered less distance, because all the distance we covered had an impact on the opposition. It was very proactive covering of the distance. You know, every single time the players move, they move with purpose. And this is off the ball stuff. When the opposition have got the ball, they move with purpose. And previously, we've been moving without any direction. I think that's the most key thing. You know, this is a lot of direction in the press and a bit of understanding of where we are now. So for me, like you said, hopefully that continues. Just before we go off that, we have to look at this stat here. Possessions won in the final third. You know, we know Rangnick, even I've been learning how to pronounce the name correctly. Rangnick has a tendency of trying to win the ball back within 10 seconds. Myself and yourself, we did a show previous to the first game, and we spoke about this in a lot of detail, and it came into fruition in the first game. Before I kind of give you my thoughts on that, I just want to ask you: are you somewhat surprised at how quickly the boys have taken on the information? Does that somewhat surprise you at all?
No, because I think footballers, I've always said, when you're in the Premier League, regardless of what people think about you, you've obviously got a level of intelligence and a way to learn the game. I think any coach worth his weight in salt is very, very much capable of getting the team to play his style anyway. And what I like that he said, sometimes you have to adapt to what the players can give you. But he's like, I'm saying that, but they're gonna do what I want them to do. They're gonna play the system I want them to play, and he's utilizing them brilliantly. So, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, there's no issue for me. I think these players are capable of doing it. The worry is the counter, but the shape that he set up is very good. You got Rafael Varane to come back, but right now Maguire and Lindelof are there, and with those two in there, for counter attacks, you saw that Tellez was ready, you saw that Dallo was ready, you saw that Fred was ready, and you saw that McTominay was ready. So there's always that trace back as well. So yeah, I was comfortable, and I believe they're capable of doing it. But whether they're able to sustain it, that's the question. That's the question, because they've done big bounce before. When they came in, we won 14 games in a row, was it? Or 11, 14,
yeah, it was something ridiculous like that.
There you go. So it's about now saying, okay, you've done it, let's keep doing it. Not just 13, 14. We're talking about throughout the season. You have a couple up and down games, but, let's see some sustainability in your football.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think sustainability and consistency are the key components for what Manchester United need to be aspiring to. Just want to give a shout out to Darren, who's in the building. Shout out to you, my guy. We definitely need to get you on one of these shows as well. I know you're similar to myself and Kojo. We like looking at the more tactical aspects, so it'd be interesting to get your thoughts on that. But of course, finally looking forward to watching us play. I think that is a universal thought with a lot of Manchester United fans. I mean, for me personally, it's just nice to be sat here with Kojo, my brother, and talking tactics. I mean, I can't think of many times that we've done videos like this under Ollie's tenure that we've actually sat there and really looked and analysed tactics and had the capabilities of actually trying to see what we're trying to do, because I don't think Ollie knows what he's doing, let alone us trying to dissect what he's doing on this. And again, people said it's the dig at Ollie, he's gone, allow it. I'm just giving my thoughts on the matter. But obviously, to get Darren's comments already put below my fantasy football team, because I think Wan-Bissaka's finished. I mean, we are going to go on to attacking fullbacks very shortly, so I don't want to cross the path, but I have done the same. Just to keep it short, I've taken that -4 here. He's 4.4 million, man. He's an absolute bargain. I mean, I'm not a FPL. Yeah,
I'm sorry,
you
4.4.
Yeah, you heard me right. 4.4 million. Listen,
Yes.
I'm not an FPL genius, by evidently given by where I'm in the table. But yeah, he's an absolute. He's a mainstay for what I would expect. But we will be touching upon that very shortly, just to get another graphic up, as we've kind of touched upon it in the conversation, anyways. As we can see here, as it loads, Manchester United won the ball 12 times in the opposition half, which is actually the most I believe we've won since Sir Alex Ferguson has retired from management, which is an outstanding stat given how many managers we've had post Fergie, and not one of them's even achieved this. I mean, the fact that Rangnick'S has come in the first game and achieved it straight away speaks volumes of the level of intent we've had in the previous coaching staff. Of course, it's only one game, and as Kojo correctly said, it's all about sustainability. It's all about consistency, doing it week in, week out. But we can only go off the sample size that we have currently got. Ironically enough, the two other teams is Southampton and Liverpool, and both of which learned the gegenpress from Rangnick, of course, Hasenhüttl and Klopp respectively. So it's very interesting to see that all three of them are the top of the tree, so to speak. Of course, this is for this season. But nevertheless, positive signs. And obviously, we'll have to see, as Kojo said, in the coming weeks, how that materializes in terms of if it does move on to something else in terms of weekly. But anyways, let's get back onto the next topic. So as I've already said, if you've got any questions in this comment section, please do let us know. Just keep slapping a like on the video, and of course, subscribe to the channel. Before we go into the attacking fullbacks conversation, I kind of just want to delve into some of the individual performances. So I'm just going to give the floor to you, and obviously you can obviously touch upon any player you wish to touch upon. It's up to you. But is there any standouts, any player that you wasn't too happy about? What did you make of the individual performances?
Truth be told, if I'm being brutally honest with you, there's not any person that I was upset with. So I'll start with Dallo, because obviously I've been screaming Dallo's name for a while. And that's not to do with. I'll say his name before Rangnick, because I wasn't much convinced about Wan-Bissaka. He's known as a good defensive midfield, defensive fullback rather. I don't rate him that highly as a defender. So for me, it was like nah. You know, at some point, Diego Kojo, that's what he said. Yeah, for me, it was just like, nah, we needed someone to just come in and take his place or challenge him. And for me, it was with Oli, I went Oli to play a more progressive game, and he wasn't doing that. So for me, it was, all right, cool. If you're going to do that, bring Dallo in. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, obviously he didn't do that. Now with Rangnick, Wan-Bissaka was back, and he was on the bench. So that says a lot for me. And the way he played, his passing, was always looking forward. He was very ambitious going forward. He took a shot that was close to bending into the top corner. You know, his link-up play was good. He's full of confidence because he's being a new man just come in and said, you know what, I like the way you play. You fit my style. I want you to come play for me. And I really did appreciate that. Next one, who can I think of that won't be too much of a... Okay, let's go Lindelof as well, because Lindelof as well...
Lindelof is your guy, isn't he, really?
He is my guy, but... I can always be critical of him, but for me, again, it was he'll take the ball forward and he was passing. There was one occasion where he tried to dribble out of the defense and he got tackled, conceded a throw. But other than that, he was progressive with the ball. He was looking at the right passes. His passes were smart. They weren't just sort of rushed or long passes that we usually used to do. Even with Maguire as well, his long passes actually went to his player. They weren't just in like a certain area for you to compete with. So, yeah, that one was very, very key. I'll do one more player. You know, I'll go with Marcus Rashford, because Marcus Rashford got a lot of criticism. But for me, it was okay. In the second half, I think he sort of faded out the game. But for me, it was he was doing the things that Rangnick wanted to do. Press, absolutely. Be a threat in terms of when he got to the ball. It's not Rashford versus one defender. It's Rashford versus three all the time, because they know what he's capable of. So when he loses the ball in those situations, because he's looking to beat one, then there's another one. There's another one there. You don't have to be... I'm not expecting him to beat Eden Hazard or Lionel Messi in terms of dribbling, but he's a threat. He's a constant threat. And he was doing that very well in the first half. In the second half, he did fade away. Should have done better in the second half. Deserved to come off, absolutely. But I'm not mad at his performance. I think he played decent. And decent's okay for getting used to a new system where under Mourinho, under Van Gaal, and under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you didn't play anything like this. So...
It is going to take him time to, customize himself with the new demand, so to speak. Look, for me personally, right, I was a bit concerned with Rashford's performance. I thought his best moment actually came in the first minute of the game, where he ran on the outside of, I can't remember what the name of the defender is, and conceded the corner. There was a little slight moment that you thought he was in behind. And I thought that was a sign of what's to come in the game. And I didn't really see him doing much of that after that. I mean, there was maybe once after that, I can't really, recall the event, but I felt like that's something that was a bit disappointing with. Just before I go into it a bit more detail, just want to get Darren's thoughts in. So obviously keep getting your thoughts in regarding the what you guys concerned about Bruno and Rashford's place in the team, because as we know, Rashford isn't a striker and has been struggling for form, and Pogba is better an option in those type spaces. So I am going to cover both of them, because I do feel like that is something that is a concern for me at the moment. But I do think you make a very fair point in terms of, it's not just going to click for any of the front players. I know Ronaldo was the only one really that put up a good performance, I'd say. I thought Sancho was good, but a lot of people criticising him, and he did get hooked off first. Rashford and Bruno, all out of the four of them, Ronaldo was the only one really that escaped any form of criticism from the fans and the general media, pundits, etc. So regarding Rashford, for me, it's up here for me. It's all up here. It's all about his IQ, his decision making. That is his weakest asset. And I thought there was moments that he was running into blind alleys and it was really, really frustrating me. As you kind of alluded to, many of the times he was getting marked out of the game, or he's getting 1v3, so to speak. But it's sometimes he's gotta know when to just come back, recycle the ball, or make the right decision. I just thought time and time again his decision making was something that was letting him down. Of course, that is something I'm hoping. Yeah, go on, Kojo.
Sorry, and I agree. I just also wanted to point out that it's not for you personally, but a lot of United fans. I just want there to be a level of patience because, for example, we had a counter attack later on in the game when I think it was Sancho, Ronaldo, and I forgot who was in the middle. Someone was in the middle, and they all ran down. And if Sancho is also, because we love Sancho,
Sancho messed up the pass, didn't he?
Yeah, because Ronaldo was far by himself.
I was trying to remember, but I know about Sancho.
So I want people to have that level. I understand Rashford's been here longer. We expect better from him because we've seen much better from him, but it comes with time. So I think he definitely has to improve his decision making, but I think that's going to come this season because last season he was injured a lot. Decision making was again 5 out of 10, but his goal scoring was pretty much like an 8 out of 10. So once he gets that ticking, that's another danger man.
I mean, that's a fair point. I think patience is a virtue of Man United fans at the moment because we've been so used to mediocrity, and we've now got a manager that we know that is going to basically shine the spotlight on the players, and their mistakes are going to be honed in and magnified because we know that the system and the style of play and the instructions are no longer the issue. It's about the quality of the player, and that leads me on nicely to Bruno Fernandes, someone who I'm a huge fan of, as most of you who have followed this channel for a long period of time will know, because I was defending him, which is ridiculous given his numbers. But football isn't about numbers. Football is about the overall performance. I understand that. That is something that I always hold dear to my heart. But for me, Bruno was really starting to piss me off. Like, he was the one that was really frustrating me more than anyone on the pitch for numerous reasons. Firstly, the Hollywood pass from Bruno Fernandes needs to stop, or needs to be tamed, and he needs to know when to play that diag switch, or he needs to understand if it's not working, if it's not happening for you, please stop persisting with that. And I understand that what I'm saying here is very contradictory of what I have said in previous weeks and what I will say. Let me make this very clear. I am not saying that he should stop taking risk passes. I'm not saying if he's trying to either need a pass through to Ronaldo 5 times and it doesn't work 4 times, he should completely stop, because the 5th time it might work and it'll be a goal because it's high risk, high reward sort of thing. My concern with him is he needs to understand when to make that risk and when to play it safe and keep the ball ticking. Similar to Paul Pogba, they sometimes slow the game down because they're trying to do that Hollywood pass. Sometimes it's just easy for him to get the ball, play it one touch, keep it ticking, keep it moving, and progress the ball. So for me, he seemed to be out of place to an extent in that spot. He seems to did it on the bubble. What did you make of that, or do you agree with any of that?
Yeah, so it's a funny one with Bruno because he does a lot of this stuff, but he's very impactful, and that's the issue with a player like that. When they frustrate you, like if you're a coach, your urge will be like, okay, you know what, he's not doing what I wanted to do, and I've got to take this guy off. But then you know what he does, and then when he does it, it's like, right, okay, this is why I can't take you off. I think with him, I think I saw a lot less. I don't know how people feel, but me personally, I feel like I saw a lot less of the high risk, if you want to call it like that. People call it high risk, like he's Jeff Hardy. But I think he was a lot more clearer in his football. But he's key because he presses so well. He presses very well as well. He's always been someone that likes to press. So I think it'll be very important. He'll be very important to our plans. Darren mentioned Pogba earlier as well, and because he's better in spaces. But again, it's all about being good off the ball as well, and that's why a lot of people don't, have a lot of patience for. Mourinho was saying it. Mourinho's a very different coach to Rangnick in his football and his approach. But what he was saying at Tottenham, what he was saying at United and previous club was, and now Roma as well, is off the ball is just as key. Like, wherever the plan is, if you follow it to a T, there's a reason why it's there. And there's a reason why you have to use it properly to get yourself in a much better position to maybe create an attack or stop their attack in general. And, that's why Bruno will be key, because Bruno knows how to press properly. And I'm not saying Pogba can't do it. I'm just saying I've seen Bruno do it better. That's what I'm saying. So I think that's why he would be more key. But yeah, I agree. Much less Hollywood passes, please, because if it's not necessary, don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I hear the, obviously the pressing thing comparing Bruno to Pogba in that sense, because that's probably something that is definitely very integral in the system, because we know from the game itself, the Crystal Palace game, that Bruno, Rashford, Sancho, even Ronaldo to an extent as well, they are hunting in backs. I mean, the way that we win the ball back, and Fred was very pivotal in that, which we are going to touch on very shortly, but Bruno Fernandes definitely has a lot of positives going from him, and I think it does get massively disrespected in the fan base, which is something that I don't agree with. This isn't me saying that I don't want Bruno Fernandes to play. I just want him to up his game, basically. And as Kojo rightly said, it's going to take time for players like Bruno and Rashford to adjust the system alongside other players in the team as well. They're playing in a different role with a proper coaching system now. So it will take them a bit of time. I wasn't expecting every chink in the armor to be perfect. It's going to take a bit of polishing, and when it does come to fruition, it's going to be absolutely fantastic. This comment from Darren, he is absolutely phenomenal as always. I love the idea of bringing in a video analyst, which Ralph spoke about in the presser. Always accountability, and is very common in other sports. Think it could be very beneficial. Absolutely. I love the fact that we're bringing the analyst and a psychologist as well to work one-to-one with the players. I mean, a video analyst is very key for players like Rashford in particular, and even Bruno Fernandes, to give them an opportunity to relay and rewatch some of the potential mistakes. And that's the best way of education, to watch back, things that Rangnick wants them to improve on. And of course, I'm sure both the players will basically integrate that to the performances. But just regarding Pogba very briefly, because I don't want to touch upon him because he's not playing. For me, I think it's going to be absolutely phenomenal in the system. I'm excited to see what he can bring to the table, but we'll touch upon that when he's actually closer to being fit, because I don't think it's really relevant. Someone that is very relevant and very prominent, actually the match scorer, the match winner, should I say, was Plaster Fred. We have spoken about the ball recoveries in the final third, and the Plaster was very, very important to winning the ball high the pitch. Alongside everybody else I put in the shape, Fred covered absolutely every blade of grass, scores the goal as well, which is something you don't say often. Is he a new player? Is he found that new lease of life? Has he always been that player, Kojo? Or do you think it's a system that suits him well?
I saw glimpses of what I saw at Shakhtar when, I don't know, I wasn't in a group chat with you at the time, or I wasn't even doing podcasts with you at the time, but when we signed Fred, I was actually excited. So I can't remember which podcast it was for free midfield, but I was saying Fred signing, and he's another one that hurt me so much that I gave him what you now call the Martial treatment. So no, it's good to see him getting like a new lease of life. Look, it's still very early, but what I will say is when Carrick was there for the 3 games, it was great for Carrick as well. So if that's a thing where we're playing him in a way Shakhtar did, where he's more box to box, where he's more effective in terms of his role, in terms of sorry, I lost my English there. If we use him in the way where it's like you're box to box, but more importantly, what we're doing with you is we utilizing your energy the best. So when we go forward, you're there for link ups, you're there for 1-2s, but you're also allowed to go out there and hit a shot if you need to. But you also be ready for the counter attack. And one thing I will point out is away from ball recoveries from him, it was the first point of positioning. He was always alert for something, and that's a very difficult skill to get from a player where, especially a central midfield player, where you put them in a role and it's like, okay, I want you to contribute going forward, but somehow at the same time you need to be ready for that counter attack, and your positioning is very key in everything that we do. Every time there was a hint of Palace doing something to counter attack, who was there first to chase them? It was Fred. So that's very, very key. So if that's a Rangnick thing that he's got him looking already and saying, look, all right, because Rangnick is an educated man. He's an educated man. He knows his players. He said, all right, this is how you work at Shakhtar. This is how I want you to do this. How I want you to do that. If that's what it is, cool. If it's not, regardless, I'm happy to see what Fred can bring to the table. I've given everyone a new lease of life here. I've said I'm cool with everyone, well, apart from one right back. But other than that, I'm excited to see what he can do. It's been good. It's been good so far. Let's see if he can keep it up.
Yeah, no, look, with a lot of the players, of course, it is about sustainability, as we've banging on about. That is the key word: sustainability, consistency. The two things that we have not seen in United shirt for many, many a period really under any manager, but many it's in a legit man. But yeah, in terms of Fred, of course, the goal aside, that is. That isn't really what he's in the team for. He's in the team to win the ball high up the pitch, as I've already stated. Win the ball 12 times in the final third is integral for the way Rangnick wants us to set up. It's the way he wants us to press from the front, defend from the front. And I think Fred is going to be very, very pivotal. And we've already seen that with a new role in terms of him being more box-to-box, which is actually his position. He's never been a DM. He's never been a sitter. He's always been a box-to-box, and he was a box-to-box as at Shakhtar, which is why he was so successful there. And we haven't really seen him have these opportunities at Man United. I do believe he still has a lot to improve in his game. His passing is something that frustrates me a lot. However, what I will say is ability off the ball is second to none. He's harrowing the players. He's getting himself about, and long may it continue. Long may he continue to press from the front and put pressure on the opposition. And I think he's going to be a really important component on pressing triggers and actually instigating what Rangnick wants us to do in terms of winning the ball back within that 10-second mark. So, fair play to Fred, as you just said there. Hopefully continues. But it's only the one game under Rangnick. We'll have to wait and see what the future holds. But a great start from him, getting a goal and 2 assists in the last couple of games as well. They somewhat turned the corner. And, of course, his contribution to Arsenal game was very, very key. There are 2 players that we haven't really mentioned. We have somewhat mentioned, but we haven't mentioned, if that makes sense. And we are going to mention them now. So we're going to move on to our next topic, which is attacking fullbacks. As we know, the attacking fullback has now become a staple in the modern day era of football. And that is something that we are now going to delve into. We had a comment from Darren earlier. He's brought Delo into his fantasy football team. Is this now the moment that Delo seizes an opportunity? And what you can see on your screen now is Aaron Wan-Bissaka's stats in terms of his passing, not even his stats, his passing variation, so to speak, against Everton, which was on the 2nd of October. This season, when we drew 1-1, I mean, how could we forget one of the most shameless results given the celebration against us? I don't think I'll forget anytime soon. But as you can quite clearly see from a lot of the passes, Kojo, what's the common theme here with Wan-Bissaka's passing? Do you think Wan-Bissaka suits a Rangnick system, or do you think these stats are even a fair sort of demonstration or example of what Wan-Bissaka's game is about?
So, I mean, everyone and their dog knows that I'm not a big fan of this guy, and this is why he's just on the right side every time. There is no progress to his football. Look at the pattern, and you can see that apart from maybe let's see, 1, 2, 2 passes, they're just not, even the crosses. How many crosses are there? 3 crosses? This is the point. Yeah. This is the point. Like, I've always said I am all for my guys being good defensive. Look at
Jerry's timing. What a shock.
Watch him like a hawk, bruv. You know that meme of Sting when he's just sitting in the rafters, just looking up on the crowd. Yeah, that's what we're doing out here. Listen, this is what he's been doing, and this is why I've said, look, I've always said defensively first as a right back, you have to be good. But if you are not offering anything going forward, you're like a right back Thomas Gravison. It's useless. It's absolutely useless. I think he has so much to work on because this is poor, and he ain't gonna work with Rangnick. Rangnick needs you to be brave enough to make passes in field, make a lot more crosses, be a lot more progressive going forward. Because Wan-Bissaka does go forward, but then he looks lost. He looks like a lost
fish out of water.
Yeah, he looks like a lost Snagglepuss. Just doesn't know where he's going. Looks like a fox that's just walking around East London, just looking for his next bush. So yeah, honestly, I've just had enough of this guy.
These analogies, yo. Oh God! I mean, look, it's quite damning of Wan-Bissaka at the moment with the way Delo's come in and hit the ground running. I do think that Wan-Bissaka has to massively elevate his game. If you watch our content, you know I'm a huge fan of Wan-Bissaka. I have been a huge fan. The last month or so, I've somewhat swayed away from Wan-Bissaka, and it's for reasons like this, as you can quite clearly say, and as Kojo has just illustrated as well, a lot of the passing is very safe, sideways, backwards, the two things that Rangnick's not going to stand for. And as a fullback in the modern era, you need to be able to attack as well as you defend. Okay, granted, some fullbacks may not be as good, as good defensively as they are going forward, but nevertheless, it's a staple of the modern game, your ability to get forward and offer an extra avenue of attacking threat for your team. And I think that is something that Wan-Bissaka needs to bulk up his ideas about, because if he doesn't, he's not going to be here for a long period under Rangnick. Or if he is here, he's definitely not going to be on the pitch many a time. And obviously, we know tomorrow's game is an opportunity for players like Wan-Bissaka to show what he's about. Who knows, maybe in a more attacking system, he might flourish. Of course, that remains to be seen. For me, I don't see that happening. I think if we actually now move on to Diogo Dalot, who actually played right back for us in the most recent game, it's literally night and day. This is obviously Dalot's passing range against the most recent game at Crystal Palace. Okay, granted, Dalot had more for freedom and more for license, should we say, to go forward and join attacks. Whether Wan-Bissaka hasn't had that license, we don't know. We will find out very shortly, nevertheless. But Kojo, talk to me about Dalot's performance, because we're going to get into tellers as well. Don't worry, we will be covering both of them very shortly. But talk to me about Dalot in comparison to Wan-Bissaka here.
So sorry, Usman. Sorry, just one moment before I do that. My cousin's just bit into a Scotch bonnet, and he's now dying a very terrible death right now. So that's why I had to go off camera for a second. He's struggling with life. But look,
worries, man. Make sure he's alive.
But with Dalot, look at the passes. That's literally all I have to say. Just look at the passes. Look at where the arrows are going, and at times, look at where he's passing from. Sometimes he's in the middle. Look at the amount of crosses, shots at goal. This is what I'm talking about. And the thing is, we've been very worried about him defensively. I'm not going to go and tell you that he's a very good defender, because he's not. But what he has is that sort of willingness to try and run back and get the ball and all that, because this is all tactical from Rangnick. By the end of the day, he's still looking for hard workers, people that are ready to do that ball after work and do it at the right times. And you saw his tackles against Arsenal. You saw with his play against Crystal Palace with Louis Zaha, Wilfred Zaha, and Etal. He was up for the challenge, and that is so key. In possession, he was so good. That's as simple as it gets. And that's why you could see here a lot more progressive passes. The passes made sense when you pass it sideways or backwards. It was into players that were in better areas. The distance of the passes as well. The arrow, I don't know if you guys can see it, is next to the first triangle at the bottom. I think that's where the pass around that area is where the pass was from, straight to Rashford, wasn't it? Before the ball went to Ronaldo.
One that bulleted into Ronaldo.
Yeah, into Ronaldo. Yeah. So look, this is what I'm saying. You need players that can't be or are not afraid to try and make these passes, and I feel like Wan-Bissaka is that. He's afraid to make passes of different ranges, and afraid to just take a little bit of a chance sometimes. If you try and make a pass and it doesn't come off, we can forgive that. I've always said that. It's the same thing with managers. If you try something different and rotate and it doesn't work, I can forgive you because maybe it's just not working out. With players, you got to be confident or brave enough, is the right word. Have the bravery to try new things. And if you can't, or you try and it doesn't come off, I can forgive that. If Wan-Bissaka's trying to make crossfield passes and it's not pulling off, all right, cool. You've given it a go. Diogo Dalot's doing that. He's getting to better areas and he's making us a lot more better going forward. And I'm not someone that goes into stats and all that, but at the end of the day, football is a numbers game. And, if you create more chances, you have more chances to score goals. And that's facts.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the stats, obviously in the numbers game, I do agree with that to an extent. But I think the key word that you use for me, which is the one that resonates with me the most, is the fact that we've spoken about progressive passing. And I think that's the one key thing, because someone, or to the naked eye, or someone who didn't watch the game, if you're just looking at the comparison, you're saying, well, Dalot's played a lot of sideways passes as well. You guys have been biased, etc., etc. And it's about playing those passes with intent, playing those passes with purpose. And I think that's one thing that Diego Dalot does a lot more than Wan-Bissaka. And of course, we have to compare them because they're in direct competition with one another for a place in the team. We want that competition in the team. And for me, Dalot has put a marker down and said to Wan-Bissaka, can you go again? Can you beat me? Can you stay at claim for the spot? Because if you can't, I'm here to take over. Because I thought it was absolutely phenomenal against Crystal Palace. I mean, the red arrow here is signifying the shot that he took when he caught it onto his left foot. Again, very direct, very positive in the way he played. And for someone who's not had many opportunities in the recent weeks, he's really come on and really shown what he's about. And it was a good defensive performance against a very tricky Zaha as well. We saw against Danjuma at Villarreal, I believe. He did struggle. It is Villarreal, isn't it? Yeah, Villarreal. He did struggle against him defensively, as you alluded to. Defensively, definitely to tidy up his game. However, for me, the most important thing, which is what we're going to move on to now, is the next element, which is both attacking fullback. In a team that controls the ball, you need to be able to provide something going forward. So this is Manchester United's top progressive passes against Crystal Palace. Shout out to Maram per 90, obviously one of the most statistical sort of accounts on Twitter. So make sure you follow her out. So shout out to her, allowing us to utilize some of the brilliant graphics that she creates of her own back. As you can see from the key, in case you are obviously you have issues with seeing color, Diego Dalot is representing on this side, which is where my cursor is. The middle emblem is representing Telles, which is this side here again where my cursor is, and the white emblem is representing the middle lines, which is where Bruno Fernandes is. This isn't about Bruno Fernandes. Shout out to him. This is about the fullbacks. We're talking about attacking fullbacks. And for me, Kojo, both the fullbacks, very integral in progressive passes. How key do you think that is for Manchester United moving forward? And how important do you think it is that the fullbacks put in a similar performance to what we saw on the weekend?
It's so key. Look, again, the graphic just shows everything, because this is what I'm talking about. Forward passes get you into a better position to try and score goals. This is like Osman, obviously your coach as well. You know, when you're teaching players to dribble, like kids to dribble, you always tell them that it's better to dribble going towards the defender, because if your back is to them, it's much more difficult for you. It's a bigger job for you to beat them rather than going at them and then possibly beating them off a dribble, of speed or a skill or something. With passes, it's the same sort of concept. It's very, very simple. If you pass backwards or sideways all the time, if it's always the same, it's very easy to defend against. When you have variety from different players. Look at where Bruno's passes are going, different areas, starting off in different areas as well. Dalot, different directions, different areas. Telles, same thing. That's how you make chances, and this is why we talk about we watch different clubs and we see Robertson, we see Tierney, we see Lucas Digne. They try and make these kind of passes and try and push their teams forward, and this is what it's all about. So, progressive basically means simple, going forward. You progress, you move forward. And that's what we're doing with the ball. And that's why we always create so many chances. And it was only, like I said, it was only 1-0, but it was a dominant 1-0. This is the kind of thing that helps you become a dominant team. So we need to see more of that. And like I said, if the other two can't do it, then they can sit back and watch these two alongside Bruno Fernandes do it.
Absolutely. I got a comment here from James. I did put on the screen very briefly. Dalot is undroppable. As the United way saying, as always, please do slap a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. If you are enjoying the more tactical content that we are providing on this channel, slap a like on the video. That's the only way we know that you lot are enjoying it. And of course, it helps us out to grow the audience, that kind of thing. So appreciate any support. Keel is talking about Pogba there. I will come back to that comment a bit later on in the show. As I mentioned earlier, we're trying to just focus on the players that are currently fit. We will do a segment on Paul Pogba when he is fit and available for selection. At the moment, I just don't think it's relevant, although we did mention him very briefly. Dalot is so comfortable on the ball, relatively good week of 4, and can pass the ball at right moments. If he plays anything like that, how he's been doing the last 2 games, Wan-Bissaka is not getting to the team. And I think this is the the key thing is about consistently performing at that level. Of course, there are going to be peaks and troughs with players' forms. We understand that, but Delo has come in and hit the ground running. As is Alex Telles, as we've already mentioned, attacking fullbacks in the modern day is a staple of any successful team. You can go through any team in Europe that's actually succeeding. Attacking fullbacks are integral, and the way Rangnick wants to play the system, 4-2-2-2, as we've explained in previous podcasts, is very integral, that the width comes from the fullbacks. And the truth is, in teams that control the game, you need your fullbacks to be comfortable on the ball. You need your fullbacks to be a different asset, a different threat going forward, and they need to offer a different dimension to attacks. And as we've seen from this graphic, very well demonstrated, progressive passes, they are 2 out of the top 3 for that performance. And for me, if your fullbacks are doing their job, i.e. providing progression through the thirds, you've got to respect what they're doing. And I thought both of them are absolutely phenomenal. They've put down a marker. Wan-Bissaka, Luke Shaw, the batting is over to you guys tomorrow night. I don't know if they're both fit, but if they are, it's over to you. What can you guys provide to put us on the bench? Because as it currently stands, you mans are holding bench for Telles and Delo. And that's what Manchester United Football Club is about. It's not about, you know, being a fan of favoritism or being a fan of individual players or having favoritism to any player. It's about Manchester United Football Club providing quality on the pitch. I don't care if it's Telles, I don't care if it's Delo, I don't care who it is providing that. If you're not on job, you've got to hold bench. So now Shaw and Wan-Bissaka, you've got to match this or elevate your game higher. Healthy competition is only going to improve the entire squad. But listen, we're going to move on from the attacking fullback conversation. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Keep getting your comments in. Obviously, any questions that you do have. The next topic is we're going to talk about the pressing thing. So we have somewhat mentioned it to an extent. Of course, you know, we've kind of delved into it. So I'm just going to get the next graphic up. This one, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, you'll see yourself. It's not the greatest given. I just realized why we're taking that down because the graphics on the screen. So let me just get that up for you lovely people. It's here. So we're going to keep this on for not too long of a period because you can't really quite see it. But listen, Kojo, as we've already, as the title suggests, the 4-2-2-2 explained. Listen, Kojo, let's talk about this picture here. Again, I do apologize if it's not clear. I've just had a bit of a mare. I've obviously done a lot of prep for the show, but I've taken an L on this one. But Kojo, quite clearly you can see we've got Fred and McTominay on the far left of the picture, and obviously in the middle we've got Bruno, Sancho, and up top we've got Rashford and Ronaldo. There's a line, obviously showing that they're connected. What does this picture mean to you, my guy?
It shows clear structure. So you can see who is able to press in the situation, but also with that, you can see that if they try and make a pass, there's always a player of ours that's ready to now press the next player, and that's what it is at the end of the day. The 4-2-2 rather isn't something that I will focus on too tough because the 2-2-2 we knew was coming, and that's beautiful, and he's implementing it well. The players are obviously understanding what he wants from them, but
Absolutely.
For me, it's just the idea that when they press, the Palace players are looking, knowing that, okay, damn, if I pass to him, and football is a quick, you have to think very quickly on your feet. It's like, if I pass to him, he could get pressed by him. But if I go there, he could get, do you know what I'm saying? You force teams into long passes, long balls. That's what we want. And that's what this graphic is showing. And that's what 4 minutes into the game. So look how quick we're already implementing the style, implementing the press, and doing it well. So yeah, for me, that's beautiful to see, man. That's a nice picture. I think we should frame that still.
I mean, the sort of black taping around it is somewhat of a frame, but I managed to change the colour. Listen, firstly, as you alluded to, the structure is very integral, and the fact that they've been able to nail that within the first 5 minutes shows that they're definitely listening to what Rangnick is expecting of them on the training ground. So that's the first positive. The fact that they've implemented it instantaneously within the game and it's not happening in the second half shows that they've really acknowledged what he's trying to sort of teach them. But I can't circle anything like I do with a tactic board. But the one thing I want to just point your attention to is if you actually look at it carefully, Crystal Palace have got the ball at the right back scenario, and we have got 1, 2, 3, 4. Hopefully you can see my cursor as well. If not, I do apologize, but I'm trying my best. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 players in the frame, Ronaldo included, hopefully to try and come and press this last player against 3 Crystal Palace players. And that is the one thing I took away from that picture the most. Rangnick's system is all about creating overloads when pressing the opposition. And already within 4.5 minutes of Manchester United's new system, the players have already implemented that. And that is the most key component. Creating overloads on the press, creating opportunities for us to be 2v1. And you can see that in this picture very clearly early on in the game, that Man United are 4v3 in the Palace half, right at the edge of their own box. So that's very important. We're squeezing them up, but on top of that, we're getting bodies around them. So they're going to have to do fantastically well to pass the ball out. And as Kojo just alluded to there, most times than none, they're going to probably go long as well. So we're not only forcing them to errors, we're making it very difficult for them to pass out the back. If they pass out the back, it has to be on merit. They have to beat us on merit. And that's what it should be at Manchester United Football Club. Nothing should be handed to the opposition. We made them work for every single pass and every single ball. And that's what this picture shows to me. So that was a major positive that I took away from that, alongside everything Kojo just alluded to. The fact that they were very quick to instill what Rangnick wants from them within the system. So that's a massive positive. And it's good to see it's only taken 4.5 minutes to really get into that. But Kojo, what are your thoughts on that? Obviously, the players quite clearly following his instructions to a team, and does that further emphasize that the players are capable? The players are capable of actually, following the instructions.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were following instructions the whole time. If I'm being honest, I think you gotta look at it from 2 ways. So Jerry, as the great Jerry would say, it's balance. It is players and coach, and it's true. It is players and coach. But that's what I always said about initiative. I've always said, listen, if you don't agree with what the coach is saying, do something else. Go approach the game a different way. But at the same time, it's also about his lineups and the fact that a lot of our players that he was starting were quite limited. A lot of these guys are also starting now, but what is happening is they've got players around them in certain positions that are making their jobs a lot more easier. So their limits are not shown as much, which is good. So look, I think they're capable of doing it. I think Rangnick's the right man to get them into it. My actual worry is always just about continuity, like we said earlier, sustainability. That's it. So look, this is one game under Rangnick. We've got young boys coming up tomorrow.
That's correct, yeah.
And can I just say right now, even though we are through in the group and it's not a problem, they dealt with us 2-0. I want us to smack them 8.
Yeah, Ranier's comments on the Young Boys game was very refreshing. I don't know if you've had any time to see what he said, but he's almost like the Michael Jordan meme. I took that personally, even though he wasn't in charge. And I like the fact that he took ownership of that defeat, even though it has absolutely no need for him in terms on a personal level. He wasn't in charge of the team, but yeah, I think that mentality is definitely a positive. But Kojo, just before we move on, I just want to get some of the comments in. Obviously, this one from James, I did put it on the screen before, but I just want to read it out just to show our gratification for this comment, because stuff like this definitely makes it worthwhile, to go into all this sort of detail, but in terms of doing the prep for the show, as you could imagine, having to do all the prep, planning out, etc., is a fair bit. But I just want to say thank you, James. Someone who's always supporting the content, so I really do appreciate that coming from yourself. Obviously, I do the content for you beautiful people. We've got Bart asking a few questions, but I have seen him. Don't worry, Magal, just finishing off a little segment there. I'm just going to whirl through these comments very quickly, because I want to get to the next topic, because we still got to do brief thoughts on Young Boys game. Should United give Garner a chance? Absolutely should get an opportunity, but I still think that loan is very important for him. From what I've seen, he's been fantastic. Of course, long may that continue in his development, but I don't think we need to recall him at the moment. I think let him see out obviously his loan. Do you think we should give him more power related to reserves and signings? I mean, that's what the consultancy role would be. Do you think Man United should play a hybrid? I do think that the formation is somewhat of a hybrid anyways. As we kind of, I guess the next segment will answer that for you. And we'll explain that in a bit more detail for you. As the United were saying, please, if you are enjoying this kind of content, all you got to do is slap a like on the video. It helps us out a lot. We're very close to 1.3k, so hopefully can achieve that come the end of the year. So if you haven't subscribed, you're watching us for repeat, you're watching it live right now, please subscribe to the channel. It's completely free. Would appreciate any support on that matter. Keep getting your questions in, obviously your thoughts, anything regarding what we have discussed. Do you think Cavani and Donny have futures under him, Kojo? I'll pass that to you.
Do they have? I mean, Cavani doesn't really concern me because Cavani said he's leaving at the end of the season anyway, so that future is already set. Donny van de Beek has a future. I won't worry about him not starting against Crystal Palace because he will get rotation. Or we will see rotation rather, and that means he will get minutes, he'll get games. So it's a big 6 months for Donny van de Beek because we had sympathy for him under previous management. This time we know he's going to get his chance. We know he's going to play. So, and that means Matt Sharpness is going to get up as well. So I'm hoping, I'm not going to say expect, I'm hoping that he levels up because Rangnick's also staying in the consultancy role. Now, if it was Rangnick enough, forget about us. If it was Rangnick enough for Rangnick to say to the club, okay, now I'm in this role, look for this manager, and I think Donny will be like an integral part of the next future of United in the next couple of years, then cool. If Rangnick says, you know what, I like the boy, but he's not built for this, I'm sorry. But, I've always said it, you either step up or you step aside. That's it. And I want him to step up because I think he's a very, very, very good footballer. But we're not here for sentiment, as you always say as well. We're not here for sentiment. We're here to try and, collect accolades. And if we're not going to see his armpits, we can see someone else's armpits when they're lifting accolades.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. At the end of the day, step over, step aside. I think that needs to be a slogan on the channel mark to put underneath our faces. Look, I think that's a perfect way to sum it up, really. I do think Donny van de Beek does have a future at Manchester United Football Club. Tomorrow is an opportunity for him to show what he's about. Rangnick, in his press conference, spoke very glowingly of all the squad, as you would expect from a new manager, but also emphasised this sort of opportunity for these players to show me what they're about. And I think Donny will take his chance tomorrow against a very easy opposition. Let's be real. I know the beat was previously, which was embarrassing, but nevertheless, it's a nice, easy game for Donny. Not a lot of pressure on it, but Matic as well spoke about how it's important that we get the 3 points and show the manager what we are capable of and why we should be playing. So the players that are coming into the team for tomorrow's game, which we will be touching upon after this little segment here, they've got an incentive really to perform tomorrow. And hopefully Donny is one of those guys that flourishes, because I do think he could be fantastic under a Rangnick system. So let's just move on from that. I'm going to just drift upon, just going to go over this very briefly, Kojo, so just bear with. So it's going to quickly touch upon this. It's not really that important, but I just want to mention it anyways. So of course, this, I don't know why, someone just Kojo typed in 3. So I was like, so yeah, in terms of this graphic here, as you can quite clearly see, again, absolutely shocking images. I don't know who sent it me, but it's been cropped out galore. But as you can see from the graphic, the average position of Manchester United players against Crystal Palace, only 2 players from Man United were in their own half. So for me, look, you got Cristiano Ronaldo here and obviously Bruno, etc., etc. Delot very wide, Tellers very wide as well. Given as Manchester United that width, as you can see quite clearly, the width has been provided by the fullbacks, as we've already mentioned, very integral. When we've used the tactic board, this is very similar. So you've got the 2 centre backs, in this case Maguire and Lindelof, with the 2 players in front of them, and everybody else is joining the attack. So for me, if that is a sign of what is to come, a lot of positivity to come from Manchester United Football Club. We're going to finish off with our thoughts on the Young Boys game. Of course, we kind of have, I've kind of just brushed upon it, but I just want to get our lineup. I've pulled out all the stops today. I've come very prepared, as you can see. Man's got the boards out, everything. I've already put Matic, Donny, and Henderson in the team because we know that them 3 players will be playing. Matic, of course, was in the press conference. Donny van de Beek, Henderson. Rangnick literally said it in the press conference that these 2 players will play. So it's not so much predicting what you think Rangnick is going to do. It's more suggesting what we want to see, Kojo, okay? So obviously we can go through this together by all means. Obviously get your comments in. If you're watching this back, obviously, get your thoughts in regarding anything that we discussed on the show in general. But Kojo, we'll start with the right back position. I feel like it's a bit obvious who this is going to be, right?
Oh, what? Wan-Bissaka?
Yeah, so as I'm typing it in, I don't know how to spell his name. That is how you spell it, isn't it?
I think that's how you spell it. What?
Yeah, it was.
Oh,
Okay.
oh,
so
we missed the hyphen.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so as I'm putting the players in, Coach, obviously, if you name any of the players, I'll put them in as well. If you just want to give your thoughts on what you want to see from that player. So we'll start with Wan-Bissaka. In fact, no, let's start with the goalkeeper, actually, Henderson. Someone that was touted number one. Under Ali, he was number one for a period of time. What do you want to see from him coming into the team? What are you expecting?
See the arrogance that he was showing earlier. I want to see if he can back it up. That's as simple as it gets. He got number one last season, and he was saying it's my spot. Well, it's clearly not. So, I know he's young boys, but start off big. And if De Gea does have a dip in form, which obviously I hope he doesn't, but hypothetically speaking, if he does, he's got a chance to level up again. So, literally, level up. If you don't, De Gea's at the wheel. Forget that wheel thing now. We even that in the past.
That needs to go, Machi. That needs to go. But shout out to Alice here in the chat as always. Fantastic content. Make sure you go and subscribe to her. I appreciate all the support as always. Big up Osman. We'll look to see Ahmed Diallo start tomorrow. We will be going on to Diallo very shortly. But yeah, regarding Henderson, he needs to come with that arrogance. You're completely right. I think it's important for him to really have a good performance. However, I've got to be honest, I don't think it's going to make any difference. I can't see him displacing David De Gea in the net, and I don't think he should, to be honest with you. However, Rangnick, new manager, he might see something in terms of his sweeper keeping abilities, his ability to come and command his box. His passing might be better, who knows? And Rangnick, he might prefer that over what De Gea offers, which we know De Gea notoriously is not good sweeper keeping. He's not good in terms of commanding his box. Each manager has a preference, so he has got something to play for. We've already spoken in depth regarding the attacking fullbacks and what we want to see from them, so we're going to skirt over that to an extent because we have already covered that. I believe Luke Shaw is available for this game. Of course, if he's not, it is where it is. Centre-backs, Kojo. Who do you want to see played, or what are your thoughts?
Sorry, I forgot I muted myself. I said keep it Lindelof and Maguire.
Oh, wow, so you're keeping it?
Yeah, I'll keep it too, yeah.
Okay, interesting. Oh, Belinda, man.
I miss him.
Love that guy. You're going Lindelof and Maguire. I actually disagree with this.
You want Bailly? I know you want Bailly.
I know. I love Bailly.
Yeah.
I think Bailly, I'm just going to put, just for the sake of having one player in there, I'm going to put Bailly in. They're in the wrong place, actually. Just ignore the fact that they're on the opposite side.
You know what? Sorry, Usman. Let's go with the comments. Swap Lindelof off for Phil Jones.
Phil Jones, yeah, I saw that as well.
Yeah,
right, let's.
Why not?
Phil Jones and Eric Bailly. Why not? Why not? It's a completely dead rubber game. Why not? Jones aside, I definitely want Bailly to play this game. I feel like he deserves an opportunity. For me, I would still stick with Bailly and Varane. However, Bailly and Lindelof, which is probably your preferred, not Bailly Lindelof and Varane is probably your preferred. I'm putting words in your mouth here, so feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like that's your preferred defense, Lindelof and Varane. For me, it's still Bailly and Varane. I think them two are the best option we've got. But yeah, Bailly has to play this game. So let's move on to the midfield. Matic and Donny van der Beek. We do know both. I'm assuming Matic is playing because he was in the presser, but we know Donny van der Beek is definitely going to be playing. What do you want to see from the midfield? Sean's in the building. No way, said Philip Jones. Sean, check your messages. I'll message you on WhatsApp. Obviously, it's about a show. We want to get you back on. But yes, Philip Jones is the comments, basically. Comments preference. Keep getting your comments in. Obviously, we'll put some of your guys' thoughts on here as well. But yeah, what are your thoughts, Kojo, on the midfield?
I'm happy with those two. Firstly, I think Matic needs to get some minutes in as well because Matic is not even that. He's getting to his later years, but he's not near retirement, so he's someone we can still utilize actually. And Donny van der Beek speaks for itself. If we get onto the cams, I would say Jesse Lingard,
Okay.
and
I'm not
Amad
typing
Diallo.
in deliberately because I'm waiting to either the one first.
Yeah,
Good.
Lingard and I'd say Amad Diallo.
Okay, fair enough. Then got Amad Diallo. Okay, so just before we get them two in, please keep getting your comments in if you're still watching. Big up Usman and Kojo. Shout out to you, Sean. Always welcome. You know the drill, my G. Yankee love to love. Matic and Donny, two players that have played very well together consistently this season. For me, I'm excited to see this duo under a Rangnick's system. I think this could definitely flourish. I would personally take Matic out and put Fred in there in terms of moving forward because I think Fred and Donny could work. I know a lot of people have reservations with that duo, mainly down to the physicality aspect. But for me, if you control the ball, these things they're not important, man. Just Chelsea play with Jorginho, Kovacic, or Jorginho and Kante, both unphysical players in a sense. But football's not about physicality. I know the British game seems to put emphasis on physicality, and I understand it to an extent. But there's also a reason why you've not won any major competitions because you're overemphasized on things that aren't actually as important as ability to control the game in football, which is why the other teams tend to dominate competitions. It's just fact, simple as. Until they get this sort of mindset out of their head. But anyways, I've gone on a tangent. For me, Matic, Donny, I want to see them controlling the game and really showing Rangnick what they're capable of doing. And I'm excited to see that duo. I am missing the game, actually, just to make a note of that, because I'm going out with the family. So there won't be a watch along the match reaction. But obviously, I'll get the highlights of the second half or whatever it may be. But anyways, moving on to the count, I'm just going to let Kojo pick his team anyways. He's gone for Ahmad, so I'm not opposed to that at all. So I'm going to put Ahmad in. I don't know if his name's going to come in, actually. Ahmad. Only person, his name that's coming. There we go. Young and Diallo. I mean, which side would you want him on, actually? I just realised. Is that the wrong side? I feel like that is. Right, I'm going to put Lingard on this side. Lingard, Jesse Lingard, and Ahmad. Oh, there he goes. Cold straight stuff. Diallo. Okay, so we've got Ahmad and Jesse Lingard. Why are you picking Lingard? I mean, I know why you're picking Diallo, but why are you picking Lingard? Is he not a player that's leaving? Would you not think someone else deserves the opportunity?
Whether he's leaving or not, it's about using the squad. I understand we've got other options there, but I still use him, and I think he fits the system perfectly. He's a good presser. He's very good in spaces. He knows how to find space. Those are two things that Rangnick looks for in those kind of players in those positions. So I think there's nothing wrong with using him. I don't think there's anything wrong with using him. Even if a player is leaving, if he's there, just you use him now. So me personally, yeah, you keep him there. And Amad Diallo, because the boy was bought for a lot of money, but more importantly, he's a good young talent that we should be trying to be using a lot more of. So yeah, that's my team.
Fair enough. I mean, I'm not going to sit in debate against it because you know how much I love Lingard. So is what it is. Regarding Diallo, I completely echo that sentiment. He deserves an opportunity. So who are you going up top then? Who's your two front man?
Firstly, before I answer this, is Martial fit?
Just a bit of news, actually. I probably should start with that, for the love of God. Martial is not fit. Cavani is not fit. Varane is not fit. Just to quickly on a caveat on Cavani and Varane, Rangnick specified that they're on the grass, they're in training, but they will not be rushed back. For me, which was very important, a nice bit of breath of fresh air to hear a manager not rushing players back and potentially further injuring them, not taking any shots at anyone, but it's just facts, isn't it? I don't care what anyone says. But anyways, who's your front two, Kojo? Martial is not available for this game. Who are you going for?
I was going to go Martial and Greenwood, but I'll go Elanga and Greenwood.
Elanga. Right, okay, so very, very young front line here. I mean, Jesse Lingard's a young talent as well, so become very young on the attack. What are our thoughts on the attack? If you're watching this on repeat, as I've said, please do let us know. So this is Kojo's team that he would pick for tomorrow. We've got Henderson in net, of course, using the 4-2-2 formation. Wan-Bissaka, Bailly, Jones, Luke Shaw, Matic, Donny, Diallo, Lingard, Elanga, and Greenwood. I mean, it's exciting. It's definitely exciting. I mean, the Jones one, if you play those, but James has put, if Jones plays, he'll have a worldie, absolutely. Elanga and Greenwood up top. We've got Basque agreement in the chat. Look, for me personally, We've got 1, 2, 3 academy graduates there in the front line, and I'm happy with that. There's a lot of young talent on the pitch. We've got Henderson in there, of course, as an academy graduate as well. So 4 academy graduates, an opportunity for them to get important minutes in Europa League, thankfully not, Champions League football, and just get a bit of, confidence. Because I think a lot of these guys that are on the screen may not potentially get another opportunity to play football. This is a good opportunity for them to really capitalize and show, what they can provide to the team. Of course, some of them will do. But what, Kojo, I like that team. I like that team a lot. For me personally, I'd probably potentially change Lingard and bring Rashford in, only because I think Rashford needs a goal. I don't think he's playing particularly well at the moment. But and Lingard is, of course, going to leave this season, which is very realistic. But again, I'm not opposed to that. A bit of an older head, someone that the younger players, alongside Matic, etc., can look up to when the going gets tough, or if young boys turn up, etc. So, look, I think this comment here from United Way, that's a fun team. Basically sums up. But listen, we're going to finish the show there. Before we go, score predictions. As always, almost forgot there. But Kojo, what's your score prediction for tomorrow's game?
I'll go 2-0, Man United.
2-0. If we go with the team that Kojo's gone for, again, I'm somewhat reserved. Hopefully, the key thing is a clean sheet for me. I think it's really important we get a clean sheet. Above all, I mean, of course, the 3 points are important, but clean sheet is really important. Get your score predictions in. We got United saying 6-0, James saying 4-0 United. A lot of positivity in the chat, which is something that we've not seen in a long time. I'm going to say 3-0. I'm going to kind of go in between it, what everyone's predicted. I'm going to go 3-0 Manchester United. I'd love to see Elanga get a goal. And just anyone who needs a bit of confidence, really. Donny van de Beek to have an absolute worldie of a game. I think every single United fan wants to see more of Donny van de Beek. So hopefully he takes his opportunity and puts down a marker. But listen, we're going to wrap up the show there. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. If you haven't already, please slap a like on that video. It's completely free, and it's also free to subscribe to the channel. All I want for Christmas is 1.3k subscribers. So help a brother out. I'd appreciate that. Obviously, I know we're still about 50 away. If you haven't subscribed, if you've got a burner account, whatever it may be, get subscribing. We've got someone saying Jones cannot play as he is not registered in the squad. I mean, if we completely miss that out, then it is where it is. Lindelof comes in for Jones then. But it's completely not an issue. But listen, apart from that, our socials are down below. Follow us on Twitter for all the latest news and all the latest content that we both post. Of course, make sure you subscribe to 3 Midfield podcast as well. There are many platforms. Again, Kojo, tell the people where they can find you, my guy.
Firstly, thank you as always, Osman, for let me join you on the show.
Pleasure, man.
Apologize, a few times I had to disappear. Sorry for that. But 3 Midfield podcast on YouTube, 3 Midfield on all audios, TikTok, Instagram, and what's the other one? Twitch, which I need to now start promoting because we're going to be doing some Football Manager. And for anyone that's a United fan here, which should be everyone that's watching, we're going to be doing Project Save Man United. I'm coming after Ole, not Rangnick'S. So there you go. But yeah, 3 Midfield everywhere.
Love that.
And big up the fan from India. Yeah, 2 a.m. in India watching the show. Come on.
Shout out to you, bro, man. Thank you very much for tuning in. I really do appreciate the support, man. You're always here. And we got my cousin Ryan, cute Usman, and whilst when are you on? I'll be on after I've wrapped this up, if you don't mind, Hamza. Thank you very much. Hamza, while you're here, please slap a like on the video. Thank you. But listen, thank you as always for everyone that's tuned in. As I've already said, make sure you follow myself and Kojo on our social media. That's basically where we keep you up to date with everything that's going on in our lives in terms of podcasts, just general thoughts on Manchester United Football Club. Of course, it's an opportunity for you guys to interact with us if you wish to do so. If you don't, then by all means, that is also fine. And also, if you haven't yet, check out yesterday's podcast, Rival Fan Podcast. It was an absolute banger. If you love Arsenal of tears, if you love Arsenal fans crying, trust me, you are definitely going to enjoy that show. We will be back on Thursday with another podcast. Myself, Neji, and a couple of other guests. We are sorting out for you, lovely people. We'll be reacting to tomorrow's game. Sadly, no watch along tomorrow because I am out with the family watching King Richard. Shout out to Will Smith, my goal. But listen, apart from that, it's been your boy Usman. Hopefully, you guys have enjoyed the video. Drop a like, comment, subscribe.